Let's pray. Creator God, source of all beauty, goodness, and knowledge, on this day of celebration, we come with great joy and thanksgiving for the opportunity to push forward the frontiers of learning and understanding through study and research, for the wisdom and encouragement of lecturers, the imagination and enthusiasm of students and staff, and the countless individuals who make this university a place where students and faculty unite to share experience and learning. For family and friends who have supported us in the long journey towards our goals and who share in celebrating our achievements today. Bless those who journey forth from here to their different places and countries of work. May they use their newfound wisdom and skills to discern the truth, to understand the problems of society, to offer healing in body and mind. May they use the skills of their hands and the knowledge of their minds to offer care and compassion as they care for those who are troubled in mind and body, the sick and the dying, those in needs of minor procedures as well as those who require specialist help, and provide health education for the welfare of future generations. May their healing hands communicate care and trust as they provide compassion and reassurance to those in pain and distress. May your blessing be upon all our graduates. May they find happiness and joy in all they do as they pass on their gifts to future generations, and may the world be enriched by their learning. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Please be seated. Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's graduation ceremony. I'm sorry there's going to be a little bit hotter in this hall, but hopefully you'll enjoy the graduation. Before we start, can I invite the principal to address the assembly, please?
Chancellor, Lord Provost, graduands, honorary graduands, rector, ladies and gentlemen. Let me add my very warm welcome to all of you for this final of our 6 graduation ceremonies held this week. And to those of you who are visiting Dundee for the first time, I'd like to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the city and the University of Dundee. The close relationship between the university and the city goes beyond the passion for education which shaped our foundations to the sharing of knowledge and the building of reputational and financial partnerships which have brought economic and cultural prosperity to the city. Seeing you in your graduation robes, waiting to cross this stage to be dubbed with the Dundee bonnet, I'm reminded of the continuum between our history and the enduring values upon which the university's vision to become Scotland's leading university within 25 years is founded. The achievements of the university and its students in 2014, and the challenges and opportunities that those graduating here today will embark upon. So while we celebrate your achievements, surrounded by the tradition and history of a ceremony which has changed little since the foundation of University College Dundee in 1881, I wish each and every one of you the enduring success you all deserve. As a university, our role is to expand knowledge, to instill a thirst for new knowledge, to provide our students with the means to develop their judgment, and to nurture an understanding that allows them to apply this knowledge to solving the most intractable problems of the age. And if we achieve our transformational goal, then our graduates will have a significant impact on lives in Dundee, across the UK and around the world, delivering tangible economic, social and cultural benefits. The university's history is documented and preserved in our archives, which provide a barometer of social evolution and comments on local, national, and global transformational milestones. They contain a rich trove of documents, items, and evidence which illustrate the innovation and pioneering thinking of their time, which we as a university are proud to safeguard for the benefit and inspiration of future generations. Our archives not only relate to the work of the students, researchers, and academic scholars of the university, such as our first celebrated professors, Patrick Geddes and Darcy Thompson, who applied knowledge of other schools of thought to their own disciplines, or early students, such as Mary Lily Walker, a pioneer for social reform, but also to the city and the nation. Our archives, in effect, are the university's memory, and this year we remember several important anniversaries. No audience needs reminding that 2014 marks the 100th anniversary of the beginning of a global catastrophe, to borrow from the title of Sir Max Hastings' book about the beginnings of the First World War. During the so-called Great War, Dundee gave an astonishing 63% of its eligible men to the armed forces and had a casualty rate of 15%, one of the highest of any British city. Moreover, by the end of the war, more than 4,000 Dundee men had given their lives. What was then known as University College Dundee saw at least 117 men enlist, 59 students, 30 graduates, and 28 members of staff. And a plaque within the foyer of the University Tower building still pays tribute to the 37 whom we know did not return. The university honours this sacrifice through its participation in the Great War Dundee Commemorative Project, one of the first community projects in Britain to start planning for the commemoration of the 1914-18 conflict. In this context, and as from this morning when we honoured Dundee's first Makar as an honorary graduate, it seemed fitting also to pay tribute to Dundee's battle bard, Joseph Lee. His reputation as a war poet once ranked alongside those of Wilfred Owen, Siegfried Sassoon, and Rupert Brooke. Enlisted in the 4th Battalion of the Black Watch, he soon experienced the first-hand horrors of warfare in France and Belgium, and became noted internationally for the expression of his experiences in the trenches in his sketches and poetry, which were sent home and published in the Dundee Advertiser. Later, in 1920, his account of being a prisoner of war in Caird was published in a book, A Captive in Karlsruhe. Many of his drawings, publications, papers, and photographs are held in the university's archives and museum collections and provide a unique glimpse into the experiences and lives of those serving on the front line and of the sacrifices made by a generation of this country's young people. The following is one of Lee's best-known short verses, The Bullet, penned in 1915. Every bullet has its billet, many bullets more than one. God, perhaps I killed a mother when I killed a mother's son. And its theme resonates perfectly with the achievement of another of this year's honorary graduates who received her degree this morning, Lima Gabawi, winner with 2 other women of the 2011 Nobel Peace Prize for their non-violent struggle for the safety of women and for women's rights to full participation in peace-building work. Gabawi is the mother of 6 children whose courage and commitment to end civil war in Liberia began with her recognition that, and I quote, "If any changes were made to society, it had to be by the mothers." Returning to the theme of anniversaries, the university also celebrates a number of significant milestones this year. It is 110 years since the first librarian was appointed, 100 years since a dental hospital was opened, 55 years since the foundations of the Tower building were laid, 50 since the School of Town and Regional Planning was formed, and 40 years since the Faculty of Environmental Studies was established. Many of these are mirrored by modern-day developments that illustrate the enduring nature of our core values. I'd like to take a moment to highlight a number of important events with enduring relevance to the university today. Our Students' Association opened for business in Airlie Place 40 years ago in 1974. Since then, Dundee University Students' Association, or DUSA, has come a long way, and its activities and actions have contributed to the university being ranked #1 in Scotland and #4 in the UK within the Times Higher Education Student Experience Survey, with DUSA itself being consistently ranked as Scotland's leading students' union. And progress continues this year with the imminent opening of a new Student Inquiry Centre as a partnership between the university and DUSA to create a one-stop shop for student queries across the campus. It's also 40 years since Ninewells Hospital and Medical School were officially opened by the Queen Mother. It was the first completely new medical school to be built in the UK in the 20th century, and the new concepts it introduced laid the foundations for the medical school to emerge as a leading centre for medical education, renowned throughout the world. Now one of the largest teaching hospitals in Europe, this year has seen the modernisation of its learning and teaching facilities to cement its international reputation for excellence. And that reputation for excellence was given even greater credence with the Guardian League tables published recently, in which medicine was placed first in Scotland and 5th in the UK, and our School of Dentistry was placed at #1 in the UK. So these are really, truly great achievements on behalf of the university, and I congratulate all the staff and indeed the students who made those rankings come to pass. 20 years ago, the university merged with the Duncan of Jordanstone College of Art, Scotland's leading centre for research in art and design, whose reputation has recently been critical in bringing the Victoria and Albert Museum to Dundee. The project has once again seen the university and the city work in close partnership and will bring new opportunities for advancement of teaching and research in this field once the building works on the waterfront are complete. And bringing us right up to date, this year will establish an anniversary that surely will be celebrated in years to come, with a Queen's Anniversary Award for Higher Education, recognising the achievements of our Centre for Anatomy and Human Identification. Led by Professor Sue Black and Caroline Wilkinson, the Centre's achievements include groundbreaking work leading, for example, to the conviction of child abusers, the identification of victims of mass disasters, and the recreation of the face of Richard III. These awards are presented in recognition of world-class excellence and are the equivalent of the honours system for universities and colleges. As we've seen, the University of Dundee community includes some of the keenest and most determined scientists and scholars in the world. As graduates, you remain a part of that university community, carrying with you the university's values, taking your experience and knowledge garnered in the lab, the seminar room, the studio, the patient's bedside or lecture theatre, into your careers and the wider roles each of you will play in society. So today, I want to encourage you all to take those skills, knowledge and confidence you've gained while studying at the University of Dundee and use them to be ambitious and transformational as you go out into the world and build your own lives and careers. I wish you all well for the future and hope you will continue in your association with the university, taking pride in its success, as I will undoubtedly take pride in the achievements of each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal. Before we start the graduation ceremony, it is expected that the graduates in medicine and dentistry today will assent to an oath by which you're expected to abide through the rest of your professional life. So can I ask, first of all, the medical and dental graduates to stand, please. Invite Professor Connell, Vice Principal and Head of College, School of Medicine, Dentistry and Nursing to administer the oath.
Chancellor, before the dental and medical graduands are presented, I will ask them to assent to a declaration that they will maintain traditional standards of professional conduct. I will read the declaration, and at the end I will ask if you assent, and I would like you to say I do, and I would like you to say it loudly enough that it can be heard back on the main campus, if that's possible. So no holding back, please. I solemnly promise to use to the best of my knowledge and ability the art and science of my profession for the good of those under my care, and to make the preservation and restoration of their health my constant aim. I shall keep secret anything I see or hear in my practice that should not be divulged. I shall constantly endeavour to improve my knowledge and skills within my profession, and to share useful discoveries with my fellow practitioners, whom I shall hold in fraternal regard. These things I shall do for the benefit of those whom I seek to serve, and for the honour of the profession that I now join. Do you make this promise?
Thank you. Thank you.
Was that loud?
Thank you, and thank you for being so clear about saying I do. The important thing is you remember it for the rest of your professional life, as I say. It is now my pleasure to ask the Dean of the School of Dentistry, Professor Mark Hector, to present the dental graduates.
Chancellor, I have the honour to present to you for the degree of Bachelor of Dental Surgery with honours Kerry McIntosh, Jamie Mackay, Hayley Pirrie, Michelle Pope, Murray Smith, Caroline Tate, and with commendation, Elaine Duncan, Richard Eggleton, Alexander Gardner, Alana Graham, Catherine Graham, Colin Halliday, Kate Jefferson, Donald Leggett, Angus Lovell, Christopher Mackey, Zainab Rizwan, Rebecca Shields, Amy Stevenson, Emma Weir, and for Bachelor of Dental Surgery, Laura Aitchison, Hanan Al-Faji, Eunice Al-Abedi, Ian Alexander, Balkis Alamen, Yusuf Al-Safan, Jenny Armstrong, Kelsey Beck, Nurul Berahim, James Brown, Rachel Calderwood, Amanda Campbell, Salma Dow, Luke Devine, Rachel Dinsmore, Mark Doody, Laura Feeney, Sophie Ferguson, Mark Gribben, Shona Hamlet, Andrew Hanna, Nuala Hughes, Robert Hutchison, Leslie Jackson, Shona Jackson, Graham Lamont, Gemma Maley, Adrian Mulwiney, Aaron Maxwell Cox, Judith McCaffrey, Ross McConnell, Rachel McConnell, Rory McKinnon, Jennifer McMullen, Fiona Murphy, Paul Murray, Connor O'Hare, Ailey O'Neill, Jonathan Ogle, Zoe Patterson, Keith Radcliffe, Josh Rowley, Salman Saku, Abanoob Sif, Kevin Shannon, Graham Shaw, Baha Soidan, Jonathan Tolson, Debbie Trail, Anya Visser, Esha Vora, Jennifer Yule, for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Oral Health Sciences, Claire Brown with distinction, Laura Cox with distinction, Sylvia McCormick with distinction, Megan Rendell with distinction, Holly Clark, Rebecca Green, Savannah Joyce, Sarah Jane Law, Christy Lawton, Ian O'Neill. For the degree of Master of Dental Science, Akshi Arvind, Hussein Abdul Wahab, Khalil Khalaf, Rua Al-Sadegh, Nuha Al-Ashabi, Wijdan El-Manasir, Saif Faruqi, Pramod Makhani, Anis Mustafa, Rahul Raj, Deepak Rajendran. For the degree of Master of Science by Research, Sheila Tripathi. And for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Karen Emsley. Margaret Florence. Abdurrahman Salem.
Thank you, Professor Hector. I now call upon the Deputy Dean of School of Medicine, Professor Gary Myers.
Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery with honours, Rachel Coles. Alan Devlin. Ailsa Doak. Stuart Gaffney. Laura MacDonald. Paul Middleton. Stephanie Owen. Katrina Rother. Jocelyn Saunders. Joseph Timmons. Kirsty Wood. Neil Woodley. And with commendation, Lloyd Hughes. Ross MacDonald. Rachel Shedden. And for the degree of Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, Arslan Akhtar. Elise Al-Asadi. David Alexander. Megan Alexander. Laura Allen. Jennifer Allen. James Anderson. Robin Anderson. Mark Andonovich. Aisha Anwar. Mohammed Assad. Emma Barker. Caroline Barry. Carol Barry. Imogen Bidwell. Safa Sayazwani Binti Mod Suhami. Stuart Booth. Elizabeth Boyle. Michael Broom. Anda Bulaga. Jennifer Butchert. Jodie Callender. Iona Campbell. Peter Cartledge. Sean Cassidy. Jennifer Cathcart. Stephanie Charnock. James Cheng. Elaine Chin. Chit Hai Chu. Aveen Clinton. Katrina Cochran. Rebecca Cordner. Claire Corson. Sarah Costantino. Nicholas Cotton. Neil Cowan. Daniela Cox. John Curran. Amna Dar. Caroline Davidson. Craig Davidson. Andrew Donnelly. James Drummond. Holly Duncan. Gemma Edwards. Dominic Ferguson. Judith Fleming. Roger Flint. Adele Flowerdew. Graham Fraser. Laura Fraser. Pauline Gamak. Yushang Gaudu. Alan Green. Ravinda Grual. Aisling Halliday. Jasmine Hart. Zoe Hasler. Chi Ho. Joseph Hodgson. Kirsten Holmes. Katie Hunter. Abdullah Ibrahim. Stuart Innes. Claire Louise Inwood. Lewis Jackson. Kieran Jayaprakash. Leah Kane. Juliana Kanya. Ian Kennedy. Shimona Koo. James Kinane. Anna King. Thomas Kinghorn. Ross Lang. Sylvester Wong Leon Kiat. Ellen Little. Mohammed Lone. Catherine Ludwig. Alexander McClellan. Sarah McLennan. Sarah McPherson. Maeve McGinn. Monique Mahadik. Sarah Malone. Scott Martin. Brian Maybin. Kirsty McCall. Catherine McCulloch. Amy McFadden. Jonathan McGrogan. Naomi McElveny. Martin McLafferty. Ross McMahon. Jennifer Mitchell. Asim Mohammed. Deborah Moore. Sarah Murphy. Katrina Neal. Molly Neville. Charming New. Fraser Nichol. Stephanie Ong. Wei Han Ong. Andrew Park. Matthew Pendleton. Lucy Popplewell. Emma Pratty. Graham Prentice. Emily Price-Thomas. Rachel Pringle. Shobitha Puvanaswaralingam. Elaine Renouf. Joseph Renucci. Emily Robb. Sinead Rogers. Hazel Rooney. Jane Rutherford. Kathleen Rutherford. Lucy Ryan. Joel Schneider. Hamish Scott. Varun Sharnam. Kerry Sinclair. Emma Sizer. Yanis Kaparis. Caitlin Stewart. Matthew Stewart. Ailey Stewart O'Connor. David Strachan. Richie Strain. Rowan Swan. Justina Stonkor. Emily Tate. Sarah Tatler. Sylvia So. Gemma Vonga. Eleanor White. Daniel Wilkes. Rachel Wilkie. Kirsty Wilson. Joshua Wong. Stuart Wordingham. Min Yi Yap. Bo Son Ying. And Rona Young.
Thank you, Professor Myers. Can I now call upon the Dean of School of Medicine, Professor Andrew Morris.
Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Bachelor of Medical Science with honours of the first class, Ailsa Aikman. Julie Allison. Simon Clark. Lauren Copeland. Alison Curran. Angus Forgie. Ailsa Gallen. Lindsay Harris. Rachel John Charles. Anna Johnston. Heather Lockwood. Emma Lydon. Shona MacDonald. Alistair Miller. Kate Miller. Lisa Moore. Alex Morio. Miranda Patterson. Fiona Robertson. Amy Sinclair. Lewis Tate. Carla Visocci. Caitlin Whitaker. Nicholas Wu. And with honours of the upper second class, Fraser Arnott. Sarah Blue. William Brown. Jennifer Corner. Hannah Cuthbertson. Hannah Daly. Jessica DL. Scott Day. Chloe Donaldson. Edward Doyle. Kirsty Elliott. Andrew Ferguson. Catherine Garrett. Catherine Geddy. Joseph Geechan. Jennifer Green. James Hill. Jill Kehoe. Callum Kerr. Alice Lindgren. Gareth Lipton. David McKinley. Mark McCain. Amber Ogilvie. Nicola Philp. Manini Purahit. Melissa Vipond. Jean Wiedman. And with honours of the lower second class, Duncan Renton. And for the postgraduate certificate in medical education, James Wilson. And for the postgraduate diploma in cognitive behavioral psychotherapy with distinction, Aileen Hasty. Amanda Adams McGilp. Rona McLaughlin. Teresa O'Brien. Christina Rayburn. Alan Robertson. And for the postgraduate diploma in medical education, Chandrasekaran Kalia Perumal. And for the postgraduate diploma in public health, Fahad Al-Harbi. And for the degree Masters of Minimal Access Surgery, Saud Khalid Al-Dagaitha. And for the degree Master of Orthopedic Surgery, Husa Maladain Abdil El-Bana. And for the degree of Master of Public Health, Damilola Akanbi. Sajana Devkota. Sheila McMahon. Andrea Mohan. And for the degree of Master of Science, Lauren Manuel. Kirsty MacDonald. Michelle Adair, Anna Bluefield, David Carmichael, Sarah Carter, Claire Cruikshank, Kirsten Farker, Paula Fraser, Helen Galliard, Cecilia Gulyas, Julie Mansfield, Mark Mazoya, and for the degree of Master of Science by Research, Roberta Fulton. Louise Saul. And for the degree of Doctor of Medicine, Andrew Gowdy. Sushma Rekraj. Alan Robertson. Philip Short. Helen Smith. Benjamin Shushkovsky. And for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Nashwan Al-Noman. Lynn Flynn. Scott Gregg. Blair Johnston. Aisling Kaufman. Stephen Mansell. June Penman. Bhavya Rao. Rose Ross. Stephanie Sharp. Shelley Waugh.
Thank you, Professor Morris, and thank you for presenting those Dundee graduates and doctorates. I say that particularly because this will be the last Dundee graduation for Professor Morris. I don't think he deserves a long applause. He's leaving us. Of course, we wish him well, but he is going to a medical school that's not number one, but nonetheless. Good luck to you, Andrew. Principal.
Chancellor, I have the honour to invite you to confer their degrees in absence upon the candidates who have been unable to attend this ceremony.
By the authority of the Senate, I confer these degrees.
Okay, I need your help for this part of the ceremony. First of all, to give some thanks. I mentioned right at the start of my speech the special relationship that exists between the university and the city. And that is very strongly symbolized by two things. One, that we have our graduation here in this magnificent Caird Hall. And secondly, that the Lord Provost, Bob Duncan, or his Deputy Lord Provost has been present at every one of the ceremonies, not just this year, but in previous years as well. So I'd like you to join me in thanking Bob and his team and all the work that goes on to prepare the Caird Hall for these ceremonies. Thank you. And secondly, I'd like you to give thanks to your rector, Brian Cox. Brian has been here every day for this past week. He's worked very hard on your behalf throughout the year, and he puts in a tremendous amount of effort to be here and to be part of the university. So let's thank your rector, Brian Cox. And one last thing, I want you now, or in a moment, to join in a collective celebration of your success and your achievements by making a very loud noise and truly and literally raising the roof of this hall. Now, you've been pretty good so far, but I'm a bit worried you might be running out of steam, so just save up one last breath for this final effort. And what we're looking for here is not polite applause. Imagine, if you will, from whatever nationality or country you come from, that your team has scored the winning goal in the World Cup final in the last minute. And if you're English, of course, you'll have to look forward at least 4 years to that opportunity.
Medics in my days were not such a lively bunch. It's nice to see that. Thank you very much. Can I invite Professor Connell, please?
Chancellor, I have the honour and the pleasure to present for the Chancellor's Award for a lifetime contribution to teaching, Professor Jean Kerr.
Professor Kerr, I wonder who taught you?
I think it was yourself. Is that the correct answer?
No. As Chancellor of the University, it is my great pleasure and honor, whether I taught you or not, to award you the Chancellor's Award for contribution. I wasn't going to say lifetime, because you're not that old. Contribution to teaching and learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That applause tells you whether you're a good teacher or not, Jean. Thank you. Could I invite Professor Sir Philip Cohen to introduce the honorary graduate?
Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Doctor of Laws Honoris Causa, Professor Christopher Marshall, one of Europe's most eminent cancer researchers. Chris Marshall was born and brought up in Coventry, and actually the first person in his family ever to go to university. Excelling in chemistry at school, he won a scholarship to the University of Cambridge, from where he received a BA in Natural Sciences. At Cambridge, his interest switched to the chemistry of living cells, leading him to carry out research on how proteins are made under the supervision of Sir Henry Harris at the University of Oxford, for which he received a PhD in 1973. Chris then moved to the Imperial Cancer Research Fund in London, where he began his own research career in the field of cancer. He spent a further 2 years at the Sidney Farber Cancer Institute in Boston in the United States, where he was inspired by the discovery made by Bob Weinberg that one could take DNA from a cancer cell and use it to transform other cells into cancer cells. This was the first demonstration of the existence of an oncogene that causes cancers and had a profound effect on his subsequent career. On returning to London in 1980, he set up his own lab at the Institute for Cancer Research with the aim of identifying new human oncogenes. Shortly after, Alan Hall also joined the Institute, and the two of them forged one of the most famous and productive collaborations in the field of cancer research. Their work led to the discovery of a new oncogene called NRAS, and the key finding that RAS was tethered to cell membranes by an unusual fatty acid derivative. It became clear that RAS was a very important oncogene that's mutated to a deregulated form in something like a quarter of all human cancers. As a result of this, many pharmaceutical companies are now trying to develop anti-cancer drugs that prevent the attachment of RAS to cell membranes. Chris went on to discover how RAS exerts its effects on cells. He found it was a key driver of a cellular communication highway, which is now known as the RAS-MAP kinase pathway. This actually led him into a collaboration with my own laboratory in Dundee. And in one of the most productive and enjoyable research collaborations I've ever had, we were able to discover over the period 1992 to 1995 how RAS switches on two other important enzymes called RAF and MEK. Now, 20 years later, the importance of Chris Marshall's research in this area has become clear. with the approval last year of 2 drugs for the treatment of malignant skin cancer that work by switching off the functions of RAS and MEK, called dabrafenib and trametinib, respectively. The combined use of both of these drugs is now promising to have a major impact in prolonging the life of patients with malignant skin cancer. And this combination therapy was given accelerated approval by the United States Food and Drug Administration in February of this year. As a result of Chris's many visits to Dundee in the 1990s, he developed a very strong affinity with the university and the city. After the Wellcome Trust building was opened in the College of Life Sciences here in 1998, he became the chairman of our scientific advisory board and was instrumental in making many important recommendations that enhanced the strength of the different research divisions in the college. In 1990, Chris became the director of the Division of Cancer Biology at the Institute of Cancer Research. Under his leadership, it developed into the leading cancer research institute in the UK. Many of the people who were trained in his division and in his lab have gone on to become international leaders in the field of cancer research. They include, for example, Richard Murray, the current director of the Patterson Cancer Institute in Manchester, and Karen Valsden, the director of the Beatson Cancer Institute in Glasgow, which is Scotland's premier cancer research institute. Not surprisingly, Chris has received many honors for his contributions to our understanding of cancer, including his election as a Fellow of the Royal Society in 1995 and a member of the European Molecular Biology Organization in 1993. He received the Novartis Medal of the British Biochemical Society in 1999 and the Buchanan Medal of the Royal Society in 2008. In 2011, he was given the Lifetime Achievement Award of Cancer Research UK. But what does Chris do to relax when he's not doing science? Well, he's a very passionate cyclist, although the way he does it is not exactly relaxing. He began to cycle competitively in his mid-30s, which he has continued to do for the past 30 years. He has recently competed in a 12-hour time trial covering 256 miles over these periods. A few years ago, the phone rang in my office, and it was Chris calling me from the top of a mountain in the north of Mallorca to proudly inform me that he had just won a veteran cycle race on the Spanish island. Chris is also a family man. He has 3 children now in their 30s. One of his sons, Francis, has followed in Chris's footsteps and is now a senior administrator at the headquarters of Cancer Research UK. It is ironic that someone who has devoted his whole life to the study of cancer and how to improve its treatment should now have contracted that disease himself. Chris is undergoing intensive therapy at the moment, which is why he is unable to be with us in person today. When I asked him who he would like to accept the honorary doctorate on his behalf, he immediately mentioned Karen Valsden, who was the first postdoctoral researcher to join his new laboratory in London in 1982, and who, as I mentioned earlier, is today the director of the Beatson Cancer Institute in Glasgow. By an amazing coincidence, when I phoned Karen to ask whether she would be able to do this, she told me that she was already coming to this afternoon's ceremony for the graduation of her daughter, Katie, in medicine, which just happened a few minutes ago. Before closing, I'm sure you'll wish to join me in wishing Chris a speedy recovery and hope he will soon be back on his bike. Chancellor, I now ask you to confer on Professor Christopher Marshall the degree of Doctor of Laws.
By the authority of the Senate, I confer upon Professor Christopher Marshall the degree of Doctor of Laws of University of Dundee. I hope, Professor Valsden, you can convey to Professor Marshall our heartfelt gratitude for accepting the honor we do to him, but also to wish him well and hope soon a quick recovery. Please, can you give him the certificate and the doctorate hood?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for accepting. Hang on a minute. And a personal congratulations that your daughter graduated.
Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you, Philip. Now, I know that Chris is very sorry that he can't be here himself today. And I know that he's also extremely delighted and very honoured by being awarded this degree from the University of Dundee. You've heard a little bit from Sir Philip about Chris's outstanding scientific achievements. Maybe I can just personally add how wonderful Chris also is as a mentor, as a role model, and a friend. So many of us, myself included, have been really inspired by Chris over the years, and I really am sorry that he can't be here to talk to you today. When I asked Chris whether he had any words of wisdom that he would like me to pass on to you, he thought for a while, and then he said that maybe the lesson that he had learnt is that the essential thing is for you to do something that you feel is really important, to answer an important question. So in other words, whatever you do and whatever you put your energies into, make sure it's something that you feel passionately about, something that you find is really significant and worthwhile. I've been the benefit of Chris's words of wisdom for many years, and as you've just heard, this is quite a special day for me because, of course, my daughter Katie is graduating in this very ceremony. So maybe I'd just like to give you a message from both Chris and myself, to Katie, to Naomi, to Lucy, to Katie, to Fraser, to all of you, wonderful, clever, engaging, smart young doctors and dentists. Congratulations. I mean, it has been said that you'll never have as much brain, as much energy, and as much hair as you have today. So be grateful for that. And maybe in the words of Eric Idle, life has a very simple plot. First you're here, and then you're not. So please, all of you, go out there, grab life and enjoy it. You deserve it.
I invite Professor Gary Myers to introduce the honorary graduate.
Chancellor, I have the honour to present for the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa Dr. Mei-Ling Young. It is indeed a great honour and a pleasure for me to introduce Mei-Ling to you as an inspirational leader, teacher, businesswoman, and colleague, but also a personal friend and a friend of the University of Dundee for more than 20 years. She is the co-founder and provost of the International Medical University, or IMU, in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. The IMU is an integrated medical and healthcare institution offering education, healthcare, and research in partnership with some of the world's most respected universities. Mei-Ling led the building of an educational model that allows young Malaysians to pursue their ambitions to become doctors, has a globally recognized curriculum to create better doctors, and is delivered at a cost which makes it accessible to a wider range of students, and in the process helped build a better Malaysia. I would like to show you a short video clip in which Mei-Ling provides a personal introduction to her institution, which has at its core the values of innovation, imagination, and insight.
IMU began as a dream to provide Malaysians an opportunity to realize their dreams of becoming doctors and healthcare professionals.
The reason we started was there was a great demand for doctors. What we did was we put together some academics and renowned medical educationists, and it was a very exciting period. They came up with a curriculum that will feed into a whole lot of different partner schools. And that is where the model was really unique. We were quite comfortable with that until the Asian financial crisis hit us, because education now overseas was just too expensive. Based on that, we put together a group of academics that were part of our partner schools, and they worked very hard with us in a very short time to come up with a curriculum. And that became phase 2 curriculum of the IMU MBBS, which meant that we could award our own degree.
Today, our Bukit Jalil campus is one of the best learning, research and healthcare facilities in the country. Here, we push the boundaries of healthcare education by constantly innovating, like creating the International Partner University model, a world's first, and locally by offering both Western and complementary medicine education programs benchmarked to international standards. At IMU, we develop students to become better doctors and healthcare professionals by giving them an education beyond a textbook. We do this by emphasizing on the self-directed learning model, where students spend less time in the classroom and more time outside, where they initiate, interpret and develop ideas and experiences.
The seeds of the success story for the IMU go back 40 years to 1974, when Mei Ling was a student in Australia completing her postgraduate and undergraduate studies at the University of Auckland and the Australian National University, gaining a PhD in demography. Dr. Kamal Salih, a gifted and visionary scientist from USM in Penang, was a visiting lecturer. In the audience for his lecture was the young and earnest Mei Ling. She says, "I wasn't meant to be there, but a friend also from Malaysia contacted me about it. It was not really nice not to go and say hello. When anyone came over from Malaysia, our Malaysian hospitality kicks in, and so a group of us went to meet him. The rest, as they say, is history." So impressed was Kamal by Mei Ling's enthusiasm and desire to return to Malaysia and her commitment to serve her country that he offered her the use of USM as a base for fieldwork. This led to her joining USM as a lecturer and was the start of a long and fruitful relationship that saw the pair working closely, both keen to explore new avenues of research and teaching. In the late 1980s, it became clear to Mei Ling that Malaysia was facing a serious shortage of doctors. In addition, it was clear that there was a perpetual struggle to find medical staff of high enough quality to meet the requirements of society. Mei Ling and Kamal focused on the challenge of how Malaysia could train more doctors. Places for Malaysian school leavers to study medicine at that time were limited to the existing 4 medical schools, with only 300 places, and the cost and competition to study overseas often prohibitive. Mei Ling and Kamal had a brilliant idea. If young Malaysian students could not go out into the world to get an education they wanted and deserved, they would bring it to them. She says there was a great need for doctors in Malaysia who were caring. We had to make a difference. We were gung-ho and young and maybe a little naive. They agreed on 2 key principles, and the first was that to be the best, you have to start with the best. And second, that nothing is impossible. And they moved forward with implementing their idea. By 1991, Mei Ling and Kamal had enlisted the help of 4 international figures in medical education, which included Professor Ronald Harden from the University of Dundee, and included input from the principal in Dundee at that time, Professor Michael Hamlin. Things moved quickly as Mei Ling worked with this core team to put together a model which would see Malaysian students doing part of their course in Malaysia and finishing their medical undergraduate training and getting their degree from partner schools around the world. 2 years later, in November 1992, the International Medical College opened the doors of its campus to the first students with 5 partner medical schools, which included Dundee. The founding dean was Professor John Beck, Dundee University Emeritus Professor of Pathology. Ronald Harden said of this initiative, "The notion that a student could spend the first part of their training in one school, then continue in another, and that you could have a core curriculum that could stand the student in good stead wherever in the world they were going, was truly groundbreaking." IMU celebrated its 21st birthday in 2013. It has grown from medical college with a modest initial intake of 75 medical students and 5 partner medical schools to an internationally recognized higher education institution with more than 35 partner universities offering undergraduate programs in medical and health science, as well as postgraduate programs in research and an active program of community engagement with a student population now in excess of 12,000. Since 1992, over 200 IMU students have completed their undergraduate medical training here in Dundee. We are very proud of the medical graduates from Dundee who started their studies in IMU. They are a credit to both institutions and are an excellent example of the benefits of international partnership in education. I am sure Mei Ling shares their pride today as she sees this year's IMU graduates receive their degrees. Mei Ling is an exceptional person who, through drive, insight, and passion, continues to innovate in healthcare education and is an inspiration to us all. Chancellor, I invite you to confer the degree of Doctor of Laws upon Dr. Mei Ling Young.
By the authority of the Senate, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws. Congratulations and welcome to the university. Thank you. All right. Nice to have you. Thank you. You want to say something? Yes. Please do.
Chancellor, Principal, Lord Provost, new graduates, ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored and privileged to receive the honorary doctorate from the University of Dundee. Thank you very much. But in comparison to the groundbreaking achievements of the other honorary graduates, I am but a mere shadow. However, this university is very meaningful for me and the IMU. IMU may never have had the head start it had if not for Dundee. It was Ron Harden and Professor Ian Hart, the renowned medical educationist, who helped us develop our unique, innovative curriculum. They gave us credibility. Students could read the 2.5 years in Malaysia and transfer to universities all over the world, finishing their degree there. It was also Michael Hamlin, the principal at Dundee, who personally took an interest in this exciting but completely untested experiment. He helped us try to establish a college with plans to become a university. He guided us in the area of academic administration, and most importantly, in finance. He was tough, and he kept us on the straight and narrow. Our foundation dean, Emeritus Professor John Beck from Dundee, risked his reputation on this daring project and worked to set up the IMU with us. This was followed by the unstinting support of a succession of Dundee deans. Now, very important. Thus, the Scottish tradition of pioneering, tough financial principles, and high-quality education was embedded in the IMU. Today, IMU has produced over 4,700 doctors and over 2,500 pharmacists. And these are all adding to a much-needed diversity of healthcare professionals in Malaysia. As I look at all your young faces, eager, I think of myself long, long ago. So I wonder, what can I share with you from the IMU experience? Today is a great day for celebration. It's going to be only the beginning of a very long professional career. So I chose a few areas. The first I can think of is do things differently. Blaze new paths. Think big. But do things small and incrementally very well. Push boundaries and be prepared to make mistakes.
You will have youth on your side. The lack of fear, the focus, and the energy which are often blunted by age. Build trust. It was trust that fostered the partnerships, which is the very essence of the IMU. Trust is one of the most critical human values which cuts across all creeds and cultures. But this very precious value is fast disappearing. Do we trust our politicians, our lawyers, our accountants, bankers, and our media? And sadly, research in recent years have shown that the level of trust in healthcare professionals is rapidly declining. Our hope lies in all of you, our idealistic young professionals, to make the difference. Do good. As healthcare professionals, you are well placed to do this. Being responsive, relevant, and doing service to your family, the community, and society at large will always endure. Remember, I suppose we think of it more as we grow older, life is very fragile. So if you have the chance, seize it to do good. And always remember, it is a privilege to serve. Thank you. Go out and celebrate.
Thank you. Choir master, I have one request with you. Once the choir has finished, do not rush up. Otherwise, I'll just have to come and get you again. Please, choir.
Ascites, edema, appendix, anemia, embolus, embryo, eczema, cheese strokes, empathy, apathy, atopy, allergy, autism, autopsy, arthroscopes, infarction, infection, induction, injection, inspection, palpations, phlebotomy, mumps, bicuspid, bipolar, bigemini, biceps, teratogenic, testicular lumps. You must say things like dysdiadochokinesia. You can't say things like the patient's unable to clasp their hands twinkling together while turning one over and over and over and over and over. Otherwise they know what you meant, so you use Latin words instead. So the patients will never discover the meaning behind all the words that you use. Neurosis, necrosis, osmosis, psychosis, intestinal, inguinal, cystic fibrosis, lordosis, kyphosis, PE, halitosis, leptosis, aortic stenosis, dyspeptic, dyslexic, dementia, depression, paralysis, parasite, pleuropelagia, angina, andrology, antidote, antigen, ventricle, vertigo, vomit, Viagra. But on the other hand, if they understand the phrases that you say, just confused and bemused by using eponymous names like hunters and tailors and nose, and turners and brassicard. And if they understand that acronyms are twice as hard, you need a BCG, CBT, HRT. foot, foot and heart disease, prosemetemesis, maxilla, axilla, macula, papula, spatula, scapula, spermatogenesis. These are the words that are used. Surgeons, of course, are excused. We can't have them getting confused.
First of all, another loud applause for our great choir who've been singing for the last 3 days. But the reason I insisted it doesn't run away, Mr. Graham Stevenson, is because he tends to do that. But I want a special loud applause because he writes these songs. And the music, and uses the music to get the choir to sing it. So thank you very much. You're wonderful composers. No, you're good. I'll give you time together. He has to rush off there because he needs to get organized for the closing of the ceremony and play the organ. I'm just mumbling away to use up the time. I was going to say that there's a new rule that the new medical graduate is not allowed to drink on the first day, but that was a rule in my days anyway. May I call upon the mace, please? Please be upstanding. I declare this academic ceremony closed.